The early 1980s saw many exciting mould-breaking shows hit the nation's TV screens. Bruce Forsyth's Play Your Cards Right, Training Dogs the Woodhouse Way, Take the High Road, to name none of them. Into this steaming cauldron of artistic experiment stepped a group of talented young writers and performers eager to break the rules and say the words "you bastard" as often as possible in any given show. They were the first wave of comedy store and comic strip veterans, and it was no surprise that that promiscuous old tart television wanted to pick them up and have her way with them. It was a relationship that started not with a bang, but with a boom boom.
No kidding, I'm ready to fight.
Paul Jackson was one of the first producers down the club sniffing around.
I've been looking for my baby all night.
And Paul said, "You want to go on telly?" I said, "Yes."
If I get her in my sight.
Having gone to see this for pleasure, I then thought, oh God, we've got to, this is going to be big, this is going to be huge, we've got to do something about this, we've got to get it on television.
Boom, boom.
I remember Paul came to an alternative cabaret gig, I think, that was in a student bar at 6 o'clock, and the bar wouldn't open, and so everybody sat there drinking milk while I shouted at them.
They come to the walls and put wires in your engine now, but I don't mind anyway. What, me paranoid?
Oh, man. You know, it was like the guys from the BBC here, and it was just a terrible...
Hey, didn't you kill my brother?
And I took it forward to the BBC, who, to be honest, didn't know what I was talking about, and how would they? You know, nobody had really heard about this.
René Descartes was a very clever man. He invented the philosophical concept, I'm zinc, therefore I'm a pram.
I suppose, in a way, it was so different that anything we did would be striking to those few people who saw us, but I imagine it was pretty lame, really.
I can't remember what the audience it was, I mean, 1 million or something, I can't remember. But there's another measure that the BBC or broadcasters in general take, which is called the appreciation index, which is they ask the people who watched it, did they like it? And, you know, if you get 50, it's not too good. If you get 80, it's great. We got 33. I think it was the lowest ever in the history of television at that time.
We wrote deliberately offensive, bad, weird stuff, and we'd scream terrible jokes.
It's an angry love poem that I've written, and it's called Vanessa. Shut up!
People would start giggling behind their hands about how bad it was. Then I used to yell at them, and then they would laugh helplessly at that and try and hide. And that's where Rik came from, really.
I think Special Patrol Group is a stupid name for a hamster.
OK, I'll change it then. Hello, Cliff Richard.
Rik had come to see me to say, because, you know, at that time I was the only television bloke he knew, I should be that lucky. And he came to see me and said, look, we've got this, I don't know, but we've got this idea for a sitcom. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah, of course. And so he and Lisa Mayer wrote this sitcom called The Young Ones.
Our big model was Fawlty Towers, which seemed to us to succeed as a sitcom, not just because it was brilliantly written and very funny and had a great character, but because it didn't try and make its characters likeable.
Oh, thanks a lot, Vivian! You know I'm a vegetarian!
What I wanted was not to recreate, but to have the same kind of intense excitement that the Pythons had, where you're watching a screen and you just didn't know what was going to happen next.
It looks well on me, don't it?
So I went back to them and said, look, this is fantastic. I mean, it's not there yet. It's not a script yet.
Oh, I got mother a curry.
And Rik said, well, I've been thinking of getting this bloke called Ben Elton, who writes a play a week, you know, and just is always producing plays, and he knows how to shape and write stuff. Do you mind if we get him in?
And I went home that night and wrote, and the next day I took a script to them of what was sort of basically the sort of basis of Demolition, the first episode.
The kids are united. We will never be divided.
Did you see that? Did you? The voice of youth! They're still wearing flared trousers!
I was sent the script of The Young Ones, and this thing arrived, you know, covered in Marmite stains and half written in pencil and illiterate, full of Ben Elton's terrible spelling. Rather like Monica Lewinsky's dress, you know, it had strange stains all over it. And I could not make head or tail of this.
Hello, everybody. I'm the Easter Bunny.
But it's June the 12th.
What?
It's the middle of summer. Big ears.
It was was full of brilliant ideas, but so incompetently put together, you think, well, if I did this, I'd just try and structure it, make it neat.
I'm really sorry.
It would have destroyed it, really.
I really screwed that up, didn't I? I should think I'd look pretty stupid if anyone was watching.
It had all kinds of quirky elements in it already, that first script. But I said, if we can just put a band in or something, because then we'll be a variety show and we'll get slightly more money.
I'm depressed. It's 9 below zero.
So we put 9 Below Zero in, playing in the boys' room. So anyway, we made the first show, and we were thrilled with it. And you know, we said to each other, well, we've got what we set out to get here. And it sat there for quite a long time. And then what happened was, Channel 4 by this time were hoving on the horizon. Jeremy Isaacs announced his first night's lineup, and it included the comic strip. And somebody somewhere in the BBC, I still to this day don't know who it was, said, well, hang on a minute, that's that lot we've got on that tape, isn't it? And suddenly I got this phone call, can you make 5 more?
Why won't it go off, Mike?
The characters in the young ones were based on real people that we'd known when we were students.
Pollution. All around.
That's what Rik is all about, is trying to fit in with the groovy revolutionary front and failing badly.
Sometimes up, sometimes down.
There was a lot of stuff I was trying to sublimate in myself, sort of arsey behaviour, which kind of came out in Rik. I was always trying to stay cool and keep that twerp down, and the only way to live with that was to let him out.
Are you suggesting that we make a puppet out of nuclear arms?
Yes.
Oh, I think that would be very fine behaviour for a Cliff Richard fan, wouldn't it? For someone who actually thinks the lyrics of Devil Woman have got something to say.
I liked falling through the roof with Aid. It was absolutely terrifying. We were lying on a bed like this with our backs facing the floor. I don't know, 30 feet up, something like that, 40 maybe, watching this wire. And one of the reasons Aid's great, he's got a million reasons why he's great, is because he's got the balls of a giant. I mean, they're really big. But also he's brave, is the point I'm trying to say. I'm just shitting myself, because this explosion's going to go off here, bang, and then we're going to fall, free fall to the floor. And when we hit the floor, Paul says, as soon as you hit the floor, as soon as you feel the floor, start fighting, okay? And we get into the fight routine. And I was so scared. I said, Aid, I think I'm going to die. And he turned to me and he said, good. That was the most terrified I've ever been in my life. More terrified than falling off a quad bike. I was unconscious then, so I wasn't scared. And when I came back, I was Jesus.
Bad karma.
Well, I think in terms of Rik and Aid's act, which is the slapstick act, they always need a victim to hit over the head with a frying pan. Yes, he's a victim, but actually there's a lot of bottled up aggression in there too, and so anything where Neil sort of threw a tantrum or suddenly became worked up about something, I find very funny because it's so ineffective and useless.
Yeah, I'm not into violence, Rik, but I'm really good at smash your faces. Oh, God.
Neil, have you given that back?
The original idea was Pete Richardson should play what was to become Mike, and Pete was and is a sort of strangely cool guy.
What happened subsequently was that Peter Richardson and Paul Jackson had some kind of major falling out.
This is actually very serious.
So we then had a fourth character with no one to play him, which is why we ended up casting Chris Ryan as Mike.
I know what you're thinking, baby, and if I was to tell you, you'd think I was talking in centimetres.
And I handled that wrong. I mean, I was a kid. The first thing I'd ever done. On the other hand, it didn't need to be as long a row as it was.
All right, somebody call a taxi.
They asked me to be in it, really, because I'd been the kind of... I think because they were frightened of me, really. But I think I told them that I didn't want to get stuck as a kind of character or some crap like that. So I just used to leave a hole in the script, really, and I'd fill it during rehearsals, more or less, with either bits of my act or some some crap that I'd made up.
I live in a tower block, and the thing about those is there's a terrible noise problem because there's no noise insulation at all. You know, and 8 floors below you, there's always some bastard who's got a Yamaha home organ, you know.
And we had no real idea of how difficult it had been for Paul to get it on, I think, because we thought, yeah, we're brilliant. Yeah, they'll put it on.
Over the 12, I think the BBC were incredibly supportive. I mean, it was challenging at the time. Most particularly in the first series, the one that we felt really strongly about was what I still think is one of the great comic scenes, which is when, you know, the super cool Rik, who's holding the party and he's, you know, got all his mates turning up.
Anyone got a slate? A what? A cigarette.
Oh, sure.
Oh, what a great bag!
And in desperation and embarrassment, because nobody does turn up and everybody's sitting around with nothing to do, he opens a girl's handbag, you know, and that old thing that we were all taught at the time, I can't believe it's still true now, but every young boy was taught, never look in a lady's handbag, you don't know what you'll find. And it's all there, and he gets out of handbags, and of course he doesn't know what it is, you know, the super cool dude in his yellow dungarees, he doesn't know what it is. And it was, I thought, a very funny scene, and he's completely left looking like a complete tip.
It's a telescope! A telescope with a mouse in it!
Are you glad you could come to the party?
Here, have a drink, Mousy. Dum-da-dum-da-dum. Oh, it's gone all big. I'll get a tissue, it's all right. It's all right, there's a whole box of them in here. They're called... I think I better go to the lavatory.
And we were all very committed to the scene, and we knew there'd be a difficulty about it. And we delivered all 6, and they were viewed by Jim Moyer by this time. And he said, I'm not arguing, I'm not asking you to take it out. We'll go with that. I think it's extremely funny. I think the context it's in. And we would have been ready to take our names off the credits and all this stuff. Didn't need it. Go with it. And I think in that way the BBC were very good. On the other hand, classically BBC, completely out of the blue, he then said, but there's one thing that's got to go. And I think Jimmy Gilbert joined him on this. He said, you've got to take out that scene where Aid's fucking the floor.
And we looked at each other and said, I'm sorry, Jim, we don't know what you mean.
Hi, girls!
So we had to rack our brains, and we realised what it was. We said, wait, that's complete nonsense. He's doing press-ups to show how hard he is.
Do you want to see how many press-ups I can do?
And I said, well, last time I fucked the wife, it looked like that. It was about getting off with girls, masturbation, going to the toilet and farting, and, you know, it was quite sort of schoolboy humour in a lot of ways. I think I liked the last episode of all where they go over the cliff.
Look out! Cliff!
It was just such fun, sort of killing them all off and destroying everything. So cruel and pointless. So I enjoyed that.
Phew! That was close!